A man who spent nearly 10 years on death row for a murder he did not commit wants the state of Texas to pay up. Clarence Brandley was convicted of raping and killing a volleyball player at Conroe High School. He was freed, though, in 1990. More than 20 years later, Brandley has not received a dime in compensation. The Texas Comptroller's office says it's because Brandley doesn't have any paperwork that has the word innocent on it. Another reason, he requested the compensation too late.
When someone is released from being incarcerated, they don't give you a package and here it's with this information that you may need for later on if you want to seek compensation. They don't do that. They don't tell anybody that. And just as they have closed down a prison, I think Central Units today, $50 million is going to privatize for another prison. They could take that $50 million and give me my compensation.
According to the Innocence Project, about half the people exonerated after proving their innocence have not been compensated for the time they spent behind bars. That includes Anthony Graves. He did 18 years for murders he did not commit. And today, the Texas Senate approved legislation, a bill that would finally compensate him for the time he served. The Comptroller's office also had refused to pay Graves because he didn't have paperwork that said, quote, "You're innocent." In tonight's Fox in Focus, technicalities or injustice. Is the state of Texas refusing to right its wrongs? We're joined tonight by Montgomery County Prosecutor Warren DeProm. Warren, thank you very much for being here. Let me start with this. It seems the Comptroller's office, given the way the law is written, didn't have any place else to go.
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, we have these statutes in place to address the wrongs that the prison system or the judicial system places on some people. But we are a nation of laws, and we have to put laws in place that people, prosecutors, defense attorneys, everybody has to follow. And if you don't follow those rules in making an application, unfortunately, you may get cut out of the process, which doesn't seem fair, but we've got to draw the line somewhere.
And the money we're talking about came about in 2009 when the legislature said that people who were exonerated ultimately from crimes they did not commit were eligible for up to $80,000 a year they were incarcerated. The legislature said that basically the finding had to be that you're innocent. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. The wording that they had in the particular statute at the time is that the paperwork that needed to be processed had to include basically that specific language from a court or from a prosecutor and before a person would be eligible to receive those payments. And the statute was pretty specific, as it is with exonerations or post-conviction DNA writs. You've really got to follow the law to the letter to make sure that you get that money that you deserve.
That said, you are a proponent of changing the law, such as what happened with Mr. Graves' case today, so that it would make it easier for people in these circumstances to get the compensation they deserve.
Absolutely. And anybody who's facing this situation, it's not the prosecutor's job. In fact, it's probably improper for the prosecutor to contact that person and advise them of their rights. But they have a right to a counsel. They have a right to go to the Innocence Project or to some other assistance group to find out what they need to do to follow these procedures. It's a good law. It's something that's needed. Luckily, we don't do it too often. Keep in mind that there are millions of people in prison, incarcerated, and less than 1/4% of the people are actually exonerated under this process. So it's not a huge amount, but we still do have to lay down the law and make sure that people follow these guidelines.
And real quickly here, Texas leads the nation, unfortunately, in cases like this. It's incumbent upon legislators to change this and make it right. You agree?
Yes, it's definitely incumbent upon the legislatures. Prosecutors and judges should not make the law. We're there to enforce the law. And if somebody doesn't like the way it's written, it's up to the legislators to go and change it. And in this case, it's definitely appropriate.
From the Montgomery County DA's office, Warren DeProm, thanks for your wisdom tonight. Appreciate it, Warren.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.